My name is Alex. What happened to me 2 years ago still gives me nightmares, but I need to share my story to warn others about how quickly things can go wrong. I was working as a delivery driver for a local restaurant in suburban Philadelphia. It was a decent job that helped pay my bills while I was taking night classes. The tips were good, especially on Friday nights when everyone ordered takeout. This particular Friday night was slower than usual. Around 10 p.m., I got an order for a house in one of those newer developments. You know, where all the houses look exactly the same. The address was on Pine Valley Road, which I'd delivered to plenty of times before. When I pulled up to the house, something felt off. All the other houses on the street had their porch lights on, but this one was completely dark. Still, I'd delivered to dark houses before, and people would usually turn the lights on when they heard my car. I grabbed the food bag and walked up to the front door. No lights came on. I rang the doorbell and heard it echo inside the empty house. After about 30 seconds, I was about to call the customer when I heard footsteps coming from around the side of the house. "Hey man, sorry." "We're in the backyard. Having a little get-together," a guy's voice called out. He sounded normal enough, maybe in his 30s, friendly tone. I hesitated. Every instinct told me not to go to the backyard, but I also didn't want to be that paranoid delivery guy. Plus, I could hear what sounded like other voices and music coming from behind the house. "I'll meet you halfway," I called back, trying to sound casual. I took a few steps toward the side of the house, staying close to the front where the streetlight could still reach me. That's when I saw him emerge from the shadows. He was wearing a ski mask. My heart stopped. Before I could even process what was happening, I heard rapid footsteps behind me. I spun around and saw another masked figure rushing toward me from the street. They must have been hiding behind my car. I threw the food bag at the first guy's face and ran. I'm not athletic by any means, but pure adrenaline took over. I sprinted across the front yard, but my foot caught on something, probably a garden hose, and I slammed face first into the grass. I felt hands grabbing my jacket, trying to drag me backward. I thrashed and kicked, somehow managing to slip out of my jacket. As I scrambled to my feet, I heard one of them shout, "Get the van! Get the van!" That's when I saw it. A white cargo van without plates slowly creeping up the street with its lights off. It had been waiting there the whole time. I ran between two houses, jumping over a small fence into someone's backyard. I could hear them chasing me, their footsteps pounding on the grass. My lungs were burning, but I kept running through backyard after backyard, knocking over trash cans and patio furniture. Finally, I saw lights through the trees, a main road. I burst out onto it, waving my arms frantically at passing cars. A couple slowed down but kept driving. Then, thank God, a police car happened to be driving by. The officer saw me, a terrified delivery driver covered in grass and mud, without a jacket, in the middle of the street, and immediately hit the brakes. The guys chasing me disappeared as soon as they saw the police lights. The officer called for backup, and they searched the area, but never found them. The house I'd delivered to turned out to be vacant. The order had been placed with a stolen credit card. The police told me later that there had been similar incidents reported in neighboring counties. Delivery drivers being targeted by what they suspected was a human trafficking ring. They never caught the guys who tried to grab me. I quit my delivery job the next day. Now I work at a warehouse, and I still get nervous whenever I see a white van. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't gotten away, if I hadn't fought back, if that police car hadn't been driving by at that exact moment. I try not to think about it too much. My name is Mike, and I never thought something like this could happen in a small town like mine. I grew up in rural Massachusetts where everyone knows each other, where people don't even lock their doors at night. But what happened to me last summer changed everything. I work as a night janitor at the local high school. The pay isn't great, but it's quiet, and it lets me take classes during the day. That Thursday night in July was like any other. I was cleaning the science wing, working my way through empty classrooms while listening to music through my earbuds. Around 11 p.m., I was mopping the hallway when the motion sensor lights in the cafeteria suddenly flicked on. This wasn't unusual. Sometimes the sensors were oversensitive, picking up leaves blowing past the windows. But then I heard the distinct sound of the heavy cafeteria door closing. I pulled out my earbuds and stood completely still, straining to listen. Footsteps. Multiple sets of them. My first thought was that it might be some kids breaking in. It wouldn't be the first time. I grabbed my phone to call security, but there was no signal. That was weird because I always had service in the building. The footsteps were getting closer. I ducked into one of the classrooms, leaving the lights off. Through the small window in the door, I could see flashlight beams bouncing off the lockers in the hallway. These weren't kids. The footsteps were too measured, too purposeful. "Check every room," I heard a man's voice say quietly. "He's got to be here somewhere. His car's still in the lot." My blood ran cold. They were looking for me specifically. I heard them methodically opening doors, classroom by classroom, making their way down the hall. I was trapped. The only other exit would take me right past them. I crouched behind the teacher's desk, trying to control my breathing. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. The handle turned slowly. "This one's locked," a different voice said. "Use the master key," the first voice replied. That's when I realized they had to be using the school's keys. How did they get them? The lock clicked, and the door started to open. In that split second, I made a decision. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, a marble paperweight from the desk, and hurled it through the second-story window. The glass shattered with an explosive crash. The men rushed into the room as I sprinted to the window. I didn't think, didn't hesitate. I jumped. The bushes below partly broke my fall, but I still felt my ankle twist as I landed. I scrambled to my feet and ran, ignoring the pain shooting up my leg. Behind me, I could hear shouting, and then, terrifyingly, the sound of them running down the school's external fire escape. I ran across the football field toward the woods behind the school. I could hear them gaining on me. My ankle was slowing me down, but pure terror kept me going. I reached the tree line and plunged into the darkness, branches whipping at my face. That's when I heard the sirens. Lots of them. Later, I found out that one of the neighbors had called the police after hearing the window break. The men disappeared into the woods as soon as they heard the sirens. The police found a white van parked behind the school, filled with zip ties, duct tape, and chloroform. They also found all the cell signal jammers they'd set up around the building. These guys had planned everything. They'd stolen the master keys earlier that day by posing as maintenance workers. They never caught them. The van was stolen, and the security cameras had been disabled. The police said it was probably part of a larger trafficking operation, targeting people who work alone at night. I quit that job the next day. Now I only work day shifts, and I'm always looking over my shoulder. Sometimes I still have nightmares about those footsteps in the dark hallway, getting closer and closer. But mostly, I think about how close I came to disappearing that night, and how many others might not have been as lucky as I was. My name is David Anderson, and I need to share what happened to me last winter. I used to work as an overnight security guard at one of those massive self-storage facilities just outside of Portland, Oregon. You know the type. Endless rows of identical orange doors, all locked up tight, with security cameras that only work half the time. The pay wasn't great, but the job was simple enough. Walk the grounds every couple of hours, make sure nothing looks suspicious, and watch the security monitors between rounds. The facility was huge. 5 separate buildings spread across 8 acres, each 3 stories tall. During the day, it was busy with people moving stuff in and out. But at night, it was dead silent. The kind of silence that makes every little sound seem 10 times louder. That night, January 15th, started like any other. I arrived for my shift at 11 p.m., just as a light snow was starting to fall. The previous guard, Rick, briefed me about a faulty light in Building C and headed out. I settled into the small security office, which was really just a converted shipping container with a desk, 3 monitors, and a mini fridge. Around 2 a.m., I was doing my second round of the night. The snow had picked up, leaving about an inch on the ground, and my boots made that satisfying crunch with each step. I was halfway through Building B when I noticed something odd. Unit B-156 had a brand new lock on it. I remembered because just yesterday, it had one of those old brass master locks, and now it had a sleek digital one. I pulled out my tablet to check the day's activity log. No record of anyone accessing B-156. That wasn't necessarily unusual. Sometimes the system glitched and didn't record everything. Still, something felt off. As I stood there checking the logs, I heard footsteps behind me. Not the sharp crunch of boots on snow, but the soft scuff of someone trying to walk quietly. I turned around, expecting to see a homeless person who'd snuck in to escape the cold. Instead, I saw 3 men in dark winter coats, spread out in a semicircle about 15 feet away. They wore those clear plastic masks, the kind that are meant to look like real faces, but end up looking way more disturbing. One of them held what looked like a cattle prod. "Inside," the middle one said, gesturing to Unit B-156. His voice was muffled behind the mask, but I could hear the threat in it. Nice and quiet. My radio was clipped to my belt, but I knew I'd never get to it in time. My pepper spray was in my right pocket. My hand twitched toward it. "Don't," the one with the cattle prod said. "We've been watching you for weeks. We know your wife drops off dinner every night around 3 a.m. Would be a shame if something happened to her instead." My blood turned to ice. They'd been watching me, watching Emily. The middle one stepped forward, pulling a key fob from his pocket. The digital lock on B-156 clicked open. I thought about making a run for it, but they had positioned themselves perfectly. 1 on each side, 1 in front. Even if I got past them, I'd have to run through 6 inches of snow, and they'd surely catch me. The unit door rolled up with a metallic rattle that seemed deafening in the quiet. Inside, I could see it was empty except for a single metal chair with straps attached to it. The sight of those straps snapped something in my brain. I yanked the pepper spray from my pocket and pulled my radio free in the same motion. Before they could react, I sprayed the closest one full in the face. His mask actually made it worse. The spray got trapped inside, and he started screaming. I threw the radio as hard as I could at the one with the cattle prod. It caught him in the throat, and he doubled over gagging. But the middle one was already on me, tackling me into the snow. We rolled, and I felt his fist connect with my jaw. Through the chaos, I heard a car engine. Headlights swept across us as a vehicle turned down our row. The man on top of me froze. "Security!" a familiar voice shouted. "Emily, my wife. She must have come early with my dinner." She was laying on the horn, the sound echoing off the storage units. The men scattered. The one I'd pepper sprayed was still crying and coughing as they disappeared around the corner. Emily had already called 911. The police arrived within minutes, but the men were long gone. They found 3 sets of footprints in the snow, leading to a service road where tire tracks showed they'd parked a vehicle. Inside Unit B-156, they found rope, duct tape, and a video camera set up on a tripod. The digital lock turned out to be our biggest lead. It was purchased with a stolen credit card, but the security footage from the hardware store showed one of the men buying it. 2 weeks later, the police raided a house in Vancouver and arrested 5 men. They found evidence linking them to 3 other kidnappings in Washington and Oregon. I quit that job the next day. Now I work as a day shift manager at a retail store. Emily doesn't drop off dinner anymore. We eat together at home every night. The police told me I was lucky. The detective said most victims of organized kidnappings are never found. When I asked why they targeted me, he said I was perfect. Worked alone, isolated location, predictable schedule. Now I vary my routine every day, park in different spots, take different routes home. I know it might seem paranoid, but until you've seen 3 men in masks waiting for you in the snow, you don't realize how vulnerable you really are.